Byte.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Horror Nightoasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror. Joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host Ian. Ian, are you there?
I am here.
How are you doing?
I am here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. We had to deal with some of the remnants from the hurricane Friday, and this most of the week. We had no electric Friday until like 1 a.m. That was off the whole day. But we're here. I was thankful that, hey, we still have power, turn back on. So lucky there. But we are here to conclude our Fall of Beast Feast mini marathon before going into our big October special of the Halloween Grab Bag Marathon. And we decided on this one at the end of last week's show. And in a way, it kind of falls in between because there's a little bit of a Halloween theme lingering at the start of this film that it ultimately forgets. But before we get into our film, kind of just wanted to bring up something that I've kind of noticed recently. Now, I've been past year or so, we haven't really done much when it comes to mainstream theatrical horror films. And there's just something that just kind of crossed my mind, and I just wanted to get it off my chest. I mean, it's kind of a small rant. I wouldn't say it's a rant. It's just more of like every year horror comes along, there's always something. And this one, for some reason, it's to release the same movie over and over. And I have no idea why 2024 has been that way. And like the year of the Legacy prequel sequel, and all the same movies coming out the exact same film. So the beginning. So here we go. We have The Exorcists, or the one with Russell Crowe, which is the Possession movie. And then we have The First Omen, which is satanic cult, Antichrist movie. Immaculate, it's an Antichrist movie. Apartment 7A, which is a legacy prequel to Rosemary's Baby, which is a Antichrist movie. So right there, it's 3 Antichrist movies and a Possession movie. And then we have The Watchers, which is about people in a house or in a room that they can go out during the day, but they have to stay in the room at night. And then we have Never Let Go, which is Halle Berry and her 2 sons, and they're in a house in the middle of the woods. They can only go out during the day, and they have to come back in at night, or else something will get them. So there's all these movies that is coming out that's the exact same film. And it's just
That
like,
is kind of crazy.
it's like, every now and then there's, that one year where it's like nothing but found footage movies. I think that was like 2013, 2014. You had Chernobyl Diaries, Unfriended, The Gallows, and a bunch of other ones that, just came and went. And it's like, that was like the year, the year of found footage. And, As Above, So Below, even though I kind of enjoyed that one out of all of them. But this one is just like, legacy prequels, The Strangers, Chapter 1. And now we have, the Rosemary's Baby legacy prequel, which is what happened before. Again, it's like the first Purge, first Omen, the legacy prequel to what happened before the Omen, you know, and everything that happened there. And the exact same process, like you already know it's not gonna go the way it turns out to be because it's the Omen, like now it's the first
Yeah.
Omen. It doesn't go right, and then Apartment 7A. Well, obviously it doesn't go right because Rosemary's Baby. And just like it's the exact same film. Like, why are all these things? Like why? No one was clamoring for all these movies. It's just like I get it. It's Hollywood. You want to cash quick buck to make people come to the Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. It's a legacy sequel after so many years. No one really clamored for one, but it's there. You know. And just like I'm sure it's not the only one. I mean, there's a couple more, but it's just like those were like the main ones where it just felt like these are the exact same movies.
Oh yeah.
It's the
That's
exact same setup, the exact same thing. The Strangers Chapter 1, people in a house getting attacked by assailants at night. I mean, it's like the third. It's not the same, but the Watchers and Never Let Go's like that. And I'm sure there's a few other ones that's like crossing my mind, like I guess I just can't think of it at the moment. But it's just like, Ian, what's your thoughts? What I mean, like I said, it's not
yeah.
really a rant. It's just like, when did this year become let's release the exact same movie over and over?
No, like you know, I understood. Like the found footage thing. Everybody was hopping on the hype train of that. Um, but yeah, no, like I do find it kind of odd that they keep trying to rehash a bunch of like the same genres, the same, just like prequels and sequels and like the Jeepers Creepers
Oh, and
movie.
Arcadia. That's it. Arcadian. That's the thing. That's the other one.
Yeah,
That's the other one I was thinking of. Arcadian with Nick Cage and his two sons, which reminded me of Never Let Go with Halle Berry and her two sons. Because
yeah. And what was that? Uh, what was that other movie? Front Room. But yeah, it's just house movies. House and religious movies are popular this year, and remakes and sequels and prequels. But no, that's like completely. Honestly, I haven't paid attention to that, but now that you bring it up, I'm like getting flooded with like, oh yeah, the dots are connecting. But yeah, no, that's kind of strange that they're doing that. I mean, I get it that they want to, capitalize on something, but like I guess it might have be because of the fact that like all the people that are freaking out over the Olympics and they're like talking about I've been seeing an uptake in like political discourse saying, uh people are being possessed by demons and stuff like that. And uh like
I'm back.
I didn't even know you left until it said Havoc
Yeah.
joined. But yeah, I think it's just maybe it's because people are kind of freaking out over religious stuff and they're just trying to capitalize on that. Like I can understand that. But even that doesn't really make sense because like it's not something that's like being widely discussed right now. So like I said, I don't really understand where like the hype train came from, other than these companies are just fighting each other right now to um, you know, make money. But other than that, like, but I wish there was a little bit more diversity in what comes out each year when it comes to horror. But I mean, it's still better than what was it, 2014, 2015, when nothing came out?
Yeah.
And that was a infuriating year. Honestly, that was the year that we decided to start doing uh, non-new movies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad there's stuff coming out. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like,
Oh yeah,
why do I need to see the same film 5 times? Like I watched Arcadian. Oh, that's cool, and then here comes The Watchers, the exact same film. Here comes Never Let Go, the exact same film. It's like, when's enough? Like again, like did we need another Quiet Place sequel? Like that one, it was fine. It didn't do anything. Like all these films are just coming out just for substance and just like no heart put into them. But I digress. It's just
no,
a little small thing.
I definitely agree with that. You know, like I said, I wish there was more diversity. Like, you don't, nobody takes a lot of risk anymore except for indies, and you know, I just want to see more, not just slashers or supernatural movies or anything like that. I just want to see something like a little bit of gore. I want to see some monsters. Haven't seen a good monster horror movie in a while.
Yeah, I mean those are well. You can say what you will about Watchers and Never Let Go. I mean technically it's monster. Quiet Place Day One technically is a monster. I mean, so Arcadian was a monster movie. So they're out there. They're just sprinkled in with like, oh, you've seen this before, but here's this one. And it's like
I just,
it's
yeah,
like it's like a chocolate chip cookie, but this time it's like made with like a different type of chocolate. This one has Reese cups. This one has dark chocolate. Like it's the same. It's still a chocolate chip cookie.
right. Yeah, I just meant like, I mean, with, the Quiet Place Day One, we already know what happens.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's like, we didn't need to know what happened. Honestly, I thought that the first one should have just been left alone. I didn't even think a sequel was necessary.
No, I think we both agreed with that when we reviewed the second one. But
Yeah, I figured they would make a second one, but the day one was not necessary. And I want to see something like, I don't know, not even just, I don't know, maybe I'm just, because we're watching werewolf movies, that I'm just wanting to watch like other creature features
yeah, that
like
is
that.
true. Once you hit that kick, you're just in the mood for other like monster movies, and it's just like,
Especially considering that some of these movies have been boring. And I'm just like, I want to watch something like this but exciting. But yeah, I digress on.
yeah.
So
But again, that was just my small little rant. I guess I dropped out there a little bit in one part, but it's my internet for you going out in the most opportune times. But I guess
yeah,
we'll just go on from there, and just again, it's just a small little thing. I just wanted to bring it up. It wasn't anything amazing, but it just, sometimes we some small talk beforehand is always we don't do too much when it comes to modern horror Hollywood stuff nowadays, but figured what the hell. But Ian, let's conclude this Fall of Beast feast with
all right.
our next and final film for this series, and that film is, well, we started the marathon with a film needing to be longer with Devil May Care, and we conclude with the film needing to be shortened, entitled Byte. Byte is, again, when we looked over and we were discussing other werewolf films to include, to talk it over, and like this one sounded interesting, an app that turned the person, a user into a werewolf. And, there's a little bit of a Halloween vibe to it. And, we decided, yeah, sure, that sounds good. And so Byte revolves around a group of, I guess they're friends. I'm assuming they're close friends. And we have, let me try to get the names here. We have Jet, April, Damon, and Callie. I don't know if her name's Callie, but her name changes like a Nora later on in the film, and then it comes back to Callie. So I don't know if her name's Callie or Nora, so it's one of the two. And so Jet comes across this app entitled Byte, which there's a ritual to perform that could give you supernatural werewolf abilities, and he wants to go through with it. So he orders whatever it is on the app, which it turns out to be werewolf blood, and all he has to do is do that on a full moon in a graveyard and mix the werewolf blood with human blood. And so all the friends, this is Halloween night, they all in their costumes go to this graveyard, perform the ritual, and he, cuts the fingers of all of them, puts it in the little goblet, and mixes the human blood with the werewolf blood, drinks it. And so from that point on, he's having fun, and that's where the movie just kind of ends for like 80 minutes. Because the rest of the film is just a bunch of nonchalant bickering. I wouldn't say bickering, it's just noise from conversations between the friends, and there's just like a lot of nonsense, honestly, for a while, because, as I said, it needed to be shortened. This is one of those films where like there's too much dialogue, there's too many conversations, and I get that they're trying to build, I guess, something for the characters, but it's just like a lot of nothing, and like it's kind of the opposite for Devil May Care, because the like the characters were just like one dimensional. They needed sort of more in that film, and like where all the subplots and crazy things that were happening in that film needed to be lengthened, this one needed to be shorter, because if you made everything shorter, you took out a few attacks on certain individuals that really served no purpose, like the female love interest and her friend. You could have cut that out, and that could have, like, the build up to the eventual end, the finale of Byte, would have been much more impactful. Because that's the one thing about the film, is it has out of nowhere, curveball, and it's just like it kind of takes the film to a different, like, you're kind of just technically you're bored, and then all of a sudden you just see something, like a naked fat guy running down the street, and like, holy shit, that was random. And
Yeah.
you just kind of wish that the buildup was more impactful leading up to that, because it's just a bunch of conversations. Oh, he did this, he did that. What are we going to do? All these, is it a wolf attack? Is it a coyote attack? What's all these attacks? All these random attacks happening. We should do something. Maybe I'll talk to my professor. Professor's not doing anything. Now the professor's dead. How do you know the professor's dead? I don't know how the professor's dead. I need to talk to you about the professor. She's dead. And it's just a bunch of like, just like textbook dialogue that serves nothing except for just word salad. And it was just meandering around in circles, just circling the drain, just like meandering conversations that really did nothing. And
Yeah.
the werewolf, again, it's probably the better of the werewolf films because it has the best looking one, even though I consider it a bat wolf because it looks like a bat in the face. So he was called Bat Wolf in my opinion. Um, and they had some okay practical effects, and like the scratches, and there's actually some arm dismemberment, just like throwing it, watching it land on the ground, type of dismemberment. Um, it wasn't groundbreaking or anything, but it was fine for what it was. But just like the rest of the movie was just a slog to get through, and just like whereas like like again we compare and contrast with these marathons. Like Devil May Care, it was a mess too, but there's like one of those where they kept throwing stuff on screen. It was just like you know a bewildering mess. Like I can't believe that's where they're going with that one. This one, there's like nothing, and then all of a sudden it takes a curveball, and then it finally becomes entertaining, and then it ends. And they could have cut out so much in between, and it could have been and racketed up the last act a little bit, and it could have been way better. But Ian,
Oh,
I'll
one,
let you
yeah.
have your thoughts, and then we'll go back and forth.
Honestly, I think the curveball should have happened in the middle of the movie, and like that way it perks the interest and adds more depth to the film instead of just all of this boring shit, couple of kills here and there, terribly done dialogue. I'm still laughing at some of the way the lines were delivered. And I think it would have just made the movie a little bit more impactful with what we got, and like have the like because then we would have had the motive and what like instead of the build up, and because like you said there was no build up to this other than then they decided, oh well, let's actually start looking into the app instead of like just wandering around talking to each other about like what was going on. I was like, yes, I know that there was coyote attacks, and yes, I am aware that coyotes rarely attack people. You didn't have to bring that point up multiple times, but you did it anyway. And I was just sitting there just like, most of this is just pointless.
Especially the professor like being attacked. Like that didn't really serve no purpose. That long scene of her walking to her door, getting dropped off, and getting attacked, and like there's just like shorten that shit. And
Yeah.
then like the girls, the love interest, that getting elongated scenes of like how like he kind of has a thing for her, and she's an who's friends with her because he was friends with her husband, and now he wants to kind of date her because she's single, and that's not happening. And like they're trying to build all this stuff, and like he's getting picked on, like he's using his werewolf powers to attack the people, but like you could have condensed all that and just like you didn't need it, half of it, honestly, because it really served no purpose. Like, yeah, I appreciate the attacks, but they just condense the scenes in general. It would be more impactful, and then finally the reveal towards the end would have been that much more better, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't have like all the characters just like their fingers stuck up their ass. Like, what are we gonna do? I don't know. It's stuck. you know
Well, oh my god. But the I think what also made it the most boring for me was just the stiff line delivery. Like this girl sees a werewolf tearing a person to shreds, and she goes, "Oh my god, they're tearing her to shreds." I was like not freaking out, just everything was just nonchalant. Like this crying scene, like you can tell they're, like pretending to cry. And it's not like, it just, I don't know, it just felt like there wasn't a whole lot of like enthusiasm to be there. Now,
They need
that's not to say that all of them were bad. One of them I felt like actually like did their lines pretty well, and it was like this long-haired guy with glasses. I thought he did his lines a little bit better, but that's not saying a whole lot.
honestly, it felt like the doctor at the end was the only one that like figured out like, you know what, fuck this, I'm just gonna go camp, and that's what he did. Like that's what made the last act actually pretty enjoyable for how
Yeah,
short it
that
was.
if they were going to go camp route, which I love it. I like when it goes campy. I love campy movies. I like stupid movies. I absolutely loved The Killer Rack when we reviewed that movie.
Hmm.
I like that kind of shit. But lean into it in the beginning and kind of just like, because like I said, like I wish it would have been either introduced or something hinted at like earlier on to deepen the story other than just some teenager uh, or whatever. I don't really like. I guess they're adults. Whatever. I was very confused on that part because the dude was acting like a child the whole movie, and it was like just some revenge story, like just a guy with a chip on his shoulder who wanted to become a werewolf to kill people so he can finally get what he wants. And like that's fine. Like that's an okay thing. Like, but like lean into things a little bit more. Give the characters a little bit more depth than just like this awkward kid who's just hates the world because
And
you know
they didn't really even do that much with that either, where he's like has
they
all this build
didn't.
up and anger. Like like why does he want to do that? Like I understand, like, oh, she doesn't want to date me, I'm gonna kill her. Oh, these guys are talking bad about me, I'm gonna kill them. It's just like you could have done so much more. Like maybe he was like sort of like the bully, not the bully, but just like the outcast of the group or something. And like, yeah, he wanted to try this thing and become a werewolf, but like as soon as he does that and he changes over, he's just like, yeah, whatever. He's just sort of more of a stoner type character than he is like an outcast,
Yeah,
where he's
that's
just like,
how I felt too. Like he was just every time we saw him, he was just sitting on the couch or eating, and it was like I don't know, I'm just hungry. But it's like he did this werewolf thing, and yet they were like, animal attacks right after we do this. Hmm, that's a crazy coincidence. And it's not like until halfway through the movie when she realizes, hey, maybe I should look into werewolves. And that professor automatically knows about werewolves. And like, oh, you need to find this exact person and talk to them. You need to hurry.
yeah. And
And
the
then he
again, the
was
scenes
really
with her
not.
and the professor, it's just like that was just like ramblings too. And because like I don't know, there's just like so much just like nonsense of the conversations. Like I know what they're trying to do, and again, like in comparison to this, the Neville May Care, yeah, at least they went, some substance, I guess, without just like, but they just went the straight road, where Devil May Care went the scenic route with all the bumps and curves and hills and side roads and dangerous, caution roll, fallen rock zones, and this one went to interstate. It's just like totally opposite ends. One's straight and narrow, one's just buckle up. Because we
Yeah.
don't know where we're going. Um, and we have no idea. We're just driving blind, no GPS. And it's just like the total opposite. Like that one's just like a mess and short. and it's like, all these things just like doesn't matter at all. And this one is like they're trying to make things matter, and it's so long and just drawn out. You don't care, and like it has like good creature, again, for what it is for this marathon. It's the best of the three. I mean, obviously, because it looked decent enough.
Yeah.
Um, and there's again some practical effects, but and that last act that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But man, when we have to rank these here in a minute, it's going to be tough because it's just like you have to really put a lot of thought and what is like what you consider like not too egregious.
Yeah, no, like these I think that's the problem with werewolf films. And as we discussed on the a little bit, not really, um, that the common theme was acting, and
Yeah.
yeah, they were. I noticed that too. Like they all been kind of stiff lined, but you know, I'm glad there are werewolf movies out that are like trying to do something different. Honestly, capitalizing on app and on society reliance on apps and um, trying to play into that. We lost Havoc for a second, but yeah, but like I was saying, with this country's or our society reliance on these applications and everything, I think it's interesting that they relied on they're like using that to create something that's more unique to this werewolf genre. And I really am interested to see like anything else uh, that might come from this. But you got to give credit where credit's due. Like this is, a unique idea, and I wish I would have seen them uh, explore the app, and show other people who may have like downloaded this app as well.
Yeah, I mean that kind of comes up towards the end when it's about to finish, with like the finale. But they just like they could have done again a little bit more with that. But like I
Yeah,
mentioned to you earlier when I first started, and like this is starting to give me vibes of another film we reviewed. It's called Pumpkins, and like that one had like a great premise of like the old guy being buried and like he becomes the pumpkins or like some sort of acid thing and he comes back and like him and the pumpkins are alive and like they
yeah,
have all this build up to like this crazy pumpkin man with killer pumpkins, and they just squander it where it's just like they're stuck in a pub and he's going down sidewalks and attacking people and they don't fully see the realize the idea that they have. So it's like kind of felt like that, but and like and acting a little bit like Scarecrow County. It just kind of reminded me of Scarecrow County. Another one of those where it just felt like there's an idea there and they just didn't see it through. So again, a lot of failed potential, missed potential, and again, now it comes to the point where we have to sort of rate it or not, and put them in the best to worst, and that's rough because this has been a I was thinking on it after the film was over and just before the show like how are we going to rank? I was thinking like, how am I going to rank this? Because each one has so many flaws and like one or two good things. And then I was just like trying to think like, well, what would be first? And then I had to go through there and like, well, does the good looking werewolf in the last act of Byte push it over the edge as number one? Does the mess, because it really just came down to Byte and Devil May Care because there was just like they're the total opposite. It's the yin and yang. As I mentioned
yeah,
before, Byte is like 96 minutes long, and it's just like slow me nothing, and then a turn at the end, and then with the decent werewolf effects and some practical effects as well, and then you have Devil May Care, which is just a mess. And if
Yeah.
you've listened to the show, I like messes occasionally, where it's just like they just throw everything at the wall and it doesn't make a lick of sense, and you just kind of look at it in awe, and that's what Devil May Care was, because it was just they threw so much at the screen and it was shorter, it's like an hour and 6 minutes. So like what which one is the better of the two? And I guess I kind of, and then you have Werewolf Santa, which had potential, but it's just one of those where they didn't realize. Again, this whole series is just failed potential, basically. This whole that's the underlying tone, is what could have been the failed potential, because Werewolf Santa had like all this build up, these gags that like obvious built-in gags, and they just did not. They just dropped the ball. We mentioned that within our review last week. So if you want to listen to that, go ahead. Where like the squeegee coming down with the blood, and like the Santa coughing up Rudolph's nose, and all this other stuff with the like Christmas related that made it fun. But then you have like the found footage aspect that just does not work for the film. I mean, in parts it could have worked, but as a whole, it just did not work. And so everything's just bad. And again, we're in trying to rank it, because you're just trying to, it's like which child is your favorite? Like, well, fuck, I don't know, you know. So you're just left with like you're like at a brick wall, You're just bashing your head constantly trying, because everything has its okay moments and its bad moments, and it's terrible moments. And so, and I can't really give Werewolf Santa the credit, because they didn't. It's basically us talking about the potential it had that just kind of makes that film where like, yeah, I could see that, like when we reviewed it. And it's like, I can't really give it a pass though, because that's just us thinking of what could have been. And this one is where it's so long and nothing happens, and then you have the last 15 minutes, which are good in a, for the marathon, for what it's trying to do, where it could have been so much fun, leading up to this, cut it, shorten it down, and it would have been number one, like it was no doubt about it. Honestly, I have to give it to Devil May Care for being so messy, even though it's probably the one I don't like the most, probably when we reviewed it. It's just like, it's a mess and it's short, and you're just looking at it and like, man, that is a mess of a film. But at least, they could have done so much more with it. And I don't know. It's just like, again, it's like, again, Byte is not bad. It's not bad. It's just strenuous. And then finally something happens, and then it's over. It's like, it's not really worth the effort to put in it to get to that last 15 minutes. And so that's where I'm at. I have no idea where to rank these. What's your thoughts? Maybe we can rank them together somehow.
I mean, to me, Devil May Care was my least favorite. Just because it was just so much in such a short time, yet nothing really happened. I don't know. I thought Werewolf Santa was a little fun. I mean, definitely. I think Werewolf Santa was more fun than Byte. But Byte, I liked the ending more than, like towards the end with the whole big reveal, and we got deeper into the story. I liked the idea behind that.
Yeah.
That, and I do actually really like the whole app aspect of that. And like, getting stuff off an app that you download that you might not necessarily know what it does. I like that aspect of it. But I don't know. I guess, honestly, I was less bored from Werewolf Santa, to
Yeah.
be honest. Because it actually had at least, we got to see the gore for the most part. Yeah, there was all those setups, but it tried to be a little bit more fun than what Byte did. Because Byte only got fun after, the last 15 minutes of the movie. So, they didn't even try until then. So, me personally, I'm going to give it to Werewolf Santa as my number one for this marathon. Byte number 2, and Devil May Care number 3 would be my, ranking.
Yeah. Let's see here. Let's see. Now it comes down to me. I get your points, and this is like when we were. This is like how we were that one year with your Christmas picks, and you liked Hanukkah more than me. So I was like, but me, and I love just messes, and just I don't know, Devil May Care, just it was just so again, I liked Werewolf Santa enough, but I think I liked the potential that we thought out more than what was given. There's it was cool seeing a werewolf, in a Santa outfit. I mean, and it was, faster paced in a sense compared to Byte.
Yeah. No.
I don't. Again, I mean, technically, I mean, honestly, yeah, it would be Werewolf Santa, Byte, and Devil May Care, but I can't really. I mean, that's the normal. That should be the way it goes. That's the one that should go. But for some reason, I can't do that. I have to give it, even though it hurts me because it's probably the one we dug on the most. I'd have to give it to Devil May Care.
Well, sometimes the conversations that come from a movie are also.
I'd have to give it to Devil May Care, just me personally, because it's not worth watching, and it's a failed attempt at whatever they were trying to go for. But sometimes you want a mess,
just
and
the fun, yeah.
And it's like 8 Ball, just sometimes you just want a complete mess, and that's just they had all these paths to go for, and all these subplots, and he didn't do a single fucking thing with them, and you're just like, what was the even point of making the film? And it's just why was that place haunted? What happened there? They don't give you nothing, and for that reason, it just made me question everything for the filmmaking process. I have to give it to Devil May Care as number one for my own personal amusement, and then I guess again, I would say Werewolf Santa, just because of our conversations, and again, that's not the film though. And I'm looking at the film. I guess it was more enjoyable than Byte because of that last 15 minutes of Byte just comes out of nowhere. That's what makes it fun, but it's not. And the gore and the werewolf is the better of all of it, but it's just a slog to get through. Whereas Werewolf Santa, it had moments, but it doesn't do anything with those moments, and it just falls on its feet with the gags. But it's still better than the build up to Byte in that last act. So in the right world, it would probably be Byte, Werewolf Santa, Devil May Care. But for me, it's going to be Devil May Care, Werewolf Santa, and Byte.
Yeah. Well,
I had to think it through there. But that's, I mean, honestly, someone's looking at me like, really, Devil May Care is number 5? It's personal, I have to think things through. And for me personally, I'm not going to remember half the shit that happens in Byte. I'm just going to remember our conversations about what could have been in Werewolf Santa. I'm going to remember the mess that was Devil May Care. It's that whole best of the worst. If there's more nonsense in a film, you're going to remember it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it. I always enjoy when we, have difference of opinions on movies, because because that just brings up better conversations,
Yeah.
Because if we,
I mean, again, and again, we're again, we our that our tastes are sometimes they're the same, sometimes they vary. And again, I have a lot more. Again, I'm not just I'm more knowledgeable. I've watched a lot more compared to Ian. And again, that's not showboating or anything or gloating. I mean, it's obvious. I have a little bit more experience in the genre. And it's just like I see all these things, and sometimes you want to see something completely fucking off the rails, and it doesn't make any sense because there's just like so much more to it. And like,
yeah,
what happened there? That's where I come at with Devil May Care being number one. It's just one of those where it's just like, what happened? Where'd the rest of the movie go?
yeah.
Like,
I mean, it also felt like it wasn't meant to be more than a mess as well, as the other two movies felt like they actually tried.
yeah, they tried, and just again, they didn't. I mean, if Devil May Care that was failing, right? Let's just say that's an F. Werewolf Santa was at least a C in a sense, because like they tried, they just didn't didn't put a lot of punctuation marks at the end of their sentences, whereas Byte was just a run-on sentence and then the exclamation point at the end of it.
Right.
And it's just like,
I'd give that a D.
yeah, that's a D because
it passes, but barely. And that's just because of the final act. I think if the movie would have kept going at the pace and the way it was,
just like I said, it needed to be shortened. That's the main problem with Byte, is it needed to be at least 10, 15 minutes shorter. It didn't. Again, 120, 115, somewhere in there. That's a good range, 80 minutes, but it goes on for an hour and 36. And that was just too much. You needed to cut down half that middle where it's just ramblings for no reason. And then it made it much tighter and have a solid ending for the film itself to where eventually where everything leads to. But then you have, again, I'm going back, you have Devil May Care, which throws everything, and it's like an hour and 5 minutes at least. And it's just like your head explosion, like what the hell, it's just like one of those films. And like, again, less is more sometimes. And like, sometimes it's a mess and sometimes it's not good, but sometimes it's the better of the, can be the best. And again, opinions are different, but again, that's what makes the show interesting. And I always enjoy the conversations that stems from it, because again, no one in their right mind would put Devil May Care as number one.
No, yeah, absolutely.
And I didn't even think about that. Like, oh, hopefully Byte does something where it makes it number, at least puts it in number 3, because I was sitting here, I was like, please don't make me put Devil May Care as number 1. I was like, please just do something, like, and then I was like sitting here thinking, like, again, like Werewolf Santa is like the only thing that I really liked about Werewolf Santa was like the gags that we thought up of what they missed the boat on. So I was like, well, I can't really give it to Werewolf Santa number 1, because it's like it leaves you blue balled. They don't deliver in the gags. So I was like, there's no obvious choice than to pick the complete mess as the most entertaining, because I was sitting there like, where's this film going? And it doesn't go anywhere. And it's just like, again, like, what happened? Sometimes
I understand. I mean, I'm going by pretty colors. Like, you know, I I just was like, you know what? I like the way this looked and that what they were trying to do with this. And I felt like Byte, like you said, if like it would have been shorter, it would have been a better movie. And if they would have just cleaned it up a little bit instead of and add a little bit more depth to the main character who's supposed to be the werewolf, other than just like, oh, he's just randomly hates this girl because she won't get with him and just randomly gets picked on and wants to kill these people. Like, there's no build up to it. It's just, oh, well, and it's not even like he's got dark urges because of the werewolf thing. I would have been fine with that. Just anything else than just because. And like, that's what it felt like for most of it. He's just doing this because he can. And not like, I would have liked to see her reading the werewolf book and picking out traits and stuff. And like, we get to see him, like, oh, they're.
But Ian, the app has 5,000 users. Don't you
I
know
know.
that the app
Yeah,
has
right?
5,000 users? That's what we
That
need to know
was
as a
so
viewer. The app has
yeah.
so many fucking viewers, downloads, man.
Yeah, and like I was saying, like I wish that like when she was reading that book, like it says, oh, they get a little more aggressive. They uh you know, lash out a little bit more. Stuff like that, like give justifications behind why he is feeling the way he is.
And then I got
Um,
another question. He orders that from the app, and so does does the scientist has a person working in every part of the world that can deliver it to your doorstep in like 2 minutes?
yeah.
Did even? I mean, I know it's a nitpick. But it's crucial to the start of the film about how he becomes a werewolf and how he gets the blood. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to. Is it like an Uber for werewolf blood? But all over the world, somehow this scientist has employed all these people to deliver the werewolf blood to whoever orders it. The 5,000 users
All over the world. We are
all over
under
the world,
attack. We are under attack.
and somehow he's somewhere in Wisconsin. I don't know.
I didn't put any thought behind that. I put like
See,
zero effort.
that's another. It just falls apart. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But
People's like, why don't you pick that one? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, but Devil May Care is more of a mess. Like, it's just a nitpick.
honestly, I will have to say, like, I think we got kind of lucky with this marathon because, like, I didn't hate myself after watching any of these movies.
No.
Unlike our Easter movie marathon. And I still find it funny. Like, I think about like the amount of times I think about Three Blind Mice is crazy. Like, that's how bad of like I got. That's how upset that
We
movie
both
made me.
got pretty upset because that's the whole fucking point, and then it just unravels. Like,
So, it's this marathon. Like, I was going into the werewolf marathon thinking I was going to hate my life every week, and I was pleasantly surprised.
yeah. But again, we're not the average.
Especially since
You know,
this
we, we take things in differently.
we also have conditioned ourselves to watch some of the worst movies. So this might be like the average viewers, like, oh my god, this is horrible. And
Yeah,
we're just
that's
sitting here
what I
like,
said. Like,
this is fun.
yeah, like again, like you're probably the only one that'll see, me ranking Devil May Care #1. Like, yeah, I can see that. I mean, no
Oh
one else is
yeah.
gonna watch that and understand like why is that #1? I mean, because it is. There's no and you'll understand my reasoning too. You're probably the only one. I appreciate your reasoning. I appreciate you can appreciate my reasoning because it makes sense. That's what friends do, and not like when you have difference of opinion. You can see the other's point of view, and like you can get it. You can see why, and like that's just because that's the way Havoc is. Like he's a strange person. He likes weird
Yep.
shit.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's good too because, like, people when going into our reviews, we leave them guessing.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, I thought they would like that, and they're sitting there saying they hate it. They know nothing.
Yeah. But again, like these are three. I mean, there's the way that these turned out. It's like it's not like how the Three Blind Mice, Mary Had a Little Lamb, and Winnie the Pooh 2 came out. Like I mean, there's like good parts in the films that we could see, but until like things happened, and like this one's like again, like we're seeing like what could have been, and then just the fell potential of like all three films. And like that's just what this whole series, this marathon felt like. It was like felt potential. And
Yeah.
like the first one was too short, and they didn't know what to do with it, and they just threw everything at the wall.
Yeah.
Werewolf Santa, they knew what they wanted to do, but they didn't deliver on the gags or whatever tone they wanted to set. And
Yeah.
the way that they went about making it, found footage, just didn't work. And then Byte is just too long for the story being presented. It didn't give us enough of anything. And besides unnecessary conversations, and then like the last act, if shortened, could have been so much more impactful because it goes a completely curveball with the way it's going. And like it has the best werewolf of the three, considering, and like the better of the gore and the practical effects. So it makes sense that it would be the best one, but it's not. So it's like it's crazy. All the fell
Yeah.
potential in this marathon.
Yeah. No, like a lot of felt potential, but like I said, at least they, you know, they tried to be,
It was the most,
more.
it was the most normal of the three in
Yeah,
sense.
and
This is
they.
like this is your basic McDonald's hamburger. Where you go and you went and like Werewolf Santa was like, let's just say like a Whopper. It's good, but it's kind of it has a different flavor. It's okay, and then you fucking well, I don't know. I guess Devil May Care. Devil May Care. I don't know what kind of hamburger that's like something you get at some diner at an off-road back road and you get food poisoning. That's what that's Devil May Care.
Right. Well,
That's a truck stop burger. Like, well, I don't know if the cook's any good today, but we'll see.
well, I'm glad, that at least these movies, they did try to do something unique. They did try to, you know, throw a little flair into it, but they all just fell flat because script. I think that's really what boils down to is script.
Yeah, that
And
is definitely the main key issue with all of them.
yeah, I mean, like they were fine. Um, like at least they tried to do something. Unlike Mousetrap, where they didn't try at all.
Nope.
and it
Yeah, like nothing felt shoehorned in. Like they really tried. Yeah, so. You there? Are we? Well, I think we're just having internet issues now, so it's really starting to be prevalent. So I'm just going to go ahead because now Ian, his microphone's not wanting to work, and I'm dropping in and out. So we're just going to go ahead and call this a show. I don't think there's really much else we can talk about. So I appreciate everyone for listening, and we will be back with our Halloween grab bag marathon for the entire month of October, reviewing Halloween horror movies. So that's going to be always a fun marathon. So I appreciate everyone for listening, and we will see you next time on Horror Night Oasis.